I was a bit bleak with Russell for giving me the graveyard shift, and after hearing Linda's issues that you guys are mostly facing, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by how technology can actually solve a whole lot of those. While we call ourselves a mobile first company, obviously we've been in app development for the last 8 years. We used to do bespoke app development for the likes of MTN, Vodacom, KFC. The biggest problems and three things that we identified were firstly the costs. They were exorbitant, generally reserved for your large corporates, anything from 500k to over $1 million. Secondly, your time to market was ridiculously long. Good case scenario, looking at 3 months, worst case probably a year plus, and that's to get a beta version out there. And lastly, most of our clients were actually looking at building similar features. So about 4 years ago, we started looking at the US market. Cloud was blowing up. I'm sure all of you are now consuming cloud services, Office 365, etc., etc. And we thought, how could we leverage off that burst in the US and bring it to South Africa? And that's how the idea of building a SaaS model, which is called software as a service, came about. And that essentially means that we address those three things. So firstly, your cost is not prohibitive at all. We don't go for a high capex, it's a small monthly opex over a contract period. Secondly, your time to market is almost instantaneous. We can have you up with a fully white labeled branded application in the app stores in under 2 weeks. And lastly, we have up to 15 different features that you can choose from. So it's totally modular, you select only those features that are relevant to you. So that's really a bit of history and where I come from. Some interesting stats. eMarket estimates that in-app surfing represents 78% of the total time spent on digital media, and consumers are spending 138 minutes a day on their mobile devices. So that's pretty much the same amount of time we're spending on our TVs. And RDM estimates 62% of that traffic is generated via push notifications. So you all know what pushes are, that's the medium. So when you get a WhatsApp, that's a push notification. When you get a notification on Facebook, you click that, it opens the app. So basically drawing your attention, and if we look at the stats, they've got about a 92% open rate versus 26% if we look at email. So a lot more effective when you're trying to get information out there and communicate anything in real time. And push messaging is quickly becoming the connection of the digital economy. So literally, if you're not using push messaging as a communication strategy, you're definitely going to be left behind in the future. So what is PeppaComm? It's a white-labeled engagement and communication management platform where we allow you to deliver content via mobile apps, email, and web simultaneously. So I paint a bit of a scenario. I decided that I want to reconnect with my school. How do I go about it? And this is where we identified a distinct, prohibitive problem. There are so many different digital channels out there. Which one do I actually go to access that information? Do I go to your website? Is there a website? Is there a mailing list that I can be part of? How do I subscribe to that? Do you use SMS? SMS is great, but limited to the amount of information you can send out, and it's costly. And do you use social networks? Social networks are great, but not everyone likes to put everything on Facebook or Twitter. So what is the solution? So we thought, why don't we become middleware? So essentially, we become your one-stop shop, that all your members know if they need information, they would go to the platform. It either houses the information there or it links you through to an existing channel. So we're not saying throw out what you have, we're saying we're going to sit in the middle and we're going to complement it. So what does that mean? It means we have elements of your website, we link through to social media, we have a bulk emailer built into ours, but that really is our backup plan, so our secondary form of communication. We do instant notifications, I'll get through that as well, newsletter functionality. We keep your database up to date, so I believe that is a big problem. I've heard it over and over. So it allows your users to update that information in real time, and you can then easily extract that into other systems as well. And we obviously have real-time engagement through the features that I'm going to mention. In terms of platforms, we do Android, we do Apple. There is a web component, so for those people who don't have smartphones or refuse to move the technology, they can still log onto the web portal and get the email notifications. They can obviously then access all the other features that I want to talk about as well. And then the email component, as I said, the backup plan. Security is obviously top of mind, and everyone that's putting their information into any platform is worried about, is that information going to be resold? So we are fully POPI compliant. We use the same security that your banking websites do. So if you're comfortable putting in your login details into FNB or Nedbank, you should be comfortable putting it onto our platform. We also have what we call 30-day rollback. So we back your data up every day into a separate database, and we can roll back up to 30 days. So if, heaven forbid, the data center exploded or we got attacked by one of those ransomware viruses, we can roll back up to 30 days to retrieve any of that data. And within half an hour, we can have everything up and running again. So in terms of messaging, I heard Linda talk about the problem with two-way communication and it becoming too much. And I don't know if any of you are part of WhatsApp groups, but I'm sure we've all experienced when people go off on a tangent, talk about the neighbor's dog, and no one really wants to hear about that at 2 o'clock in the morning. So we've taken the broadcast approach saying, organization, I want to get my message out to my members. I want to send it to everybody, I want to send it to groups of individuals, or I want to send it to an individual as well. It's a broadcast. We do enable a reply path, but that happens via email. And the benefit of that is I can send something out, but it may be relevant for the sports department. I can put their details in there. When you click reply, it takes the content of the push notification, embeds it into your email client, and then it becomes an offline conversation. So not everyone has to hear about it. We call ourselves dual com, so that's literally because you can send a push notification to the app and email at the same time, negating the need for you to have a bulk email platform as well. Surveys and polls, so hopefully in about half an hour or so you will get a survey to vote on the necessary stuff that you have to, and you will hopefully see how, if it works as it should, how seamless it is. This is a real-time survey solution, so every time you submit that information, Russell will be able to log into the dashboard and see the instant results. We have two options here where it can be public or private, so if it's not sensitive and you want it to be a fun thing, users, when they're submitting it, can actually see what everyone else is voting. Obviously, if it's sensitive, you make it private and only you can see it on the dashboards. Events, so you see a little bit of the events there, so allowing you to manage your event. The only thing that we have not enabled on the platform today is the RSVP function. So if you want to see who's coming to your event, you can use the broadcast messaging, draw people's attention to it, and please ask them to go RSVP. It's simply swiping left or right and stipulating whether or not you have religious or dietary requirements and submitting it. So you can basically monitor and look after multiple events from a single dashboard. Loyalty and rewards. So this is actually something that Russell pointed us towards. So the idea here is, firstly, that if you have a restaurant, a coffee shop, whatever it is, your members can now redeem points by being registered app users on your platform when they go to the establishment. All they need to do is go to loyalty, click on the various providers, it gives them a code, and they redeem it in the point of sale. They can earn points and redeem them. This can go so far as being distributed to your members' businesses. So thereby promoting business between your members or your alumni so that they'd rather shop or do business with each other than go outside of the network. Fundraising, so I have to be honest, this was a slide that I put in just now, but we do have, we definitely have this functionality and we use it for churches, but we have pay-fast integration, which literally means you can do any sort of type of fundraising donations directly through the platform. All you would need is a registered pay-fast account. They do have your NPO accounts there, so you get a preferential credit card rate as well. So that's via credit card, instant EFT, debit card, whatever mechanics you want to utilize. Sending out a newsletter, I think pretty straightforward, except we generate it via push to the app and we send it out via email as well. It also negates the need for you to put 20 pages of information in one newsletter, because a lot of this information can now be sent out using the messaging functionality, using surveys, using the other features of the application, instead of trying to cram everything into 20 pages, which people, to be honest, don't really read these days. Business and restaurant listings. So again, a way that you can promote business for your alumni. We have the ability for you to also do bookings. So if they, for example, run a restaurant, I know they've got it in the OSA app, you can now, through the application, request a booking directly to the restaurant. It goes totally offline to them via email, they say yes or no, and it's facilitating business for them. The same thing can work for business information, so products and services that they're offering, click to contact details, how do I navigate there, and most recently we've got a near me feature, so I don't know if you've ever used Foursquare or TripAdvisor, but basically it picks up what's in relation to your current location. And we can do that based on businesses as well. So you can have all the business categories and you can have what's closest to me, so you can go to the closest provider. Contact information, I think self-explanatory, so all the relevant contact information, who to contact about what. And sometimes this is overlooked, as I think a lot of people get unrelevantly contacted. This way you can specify who gets contacted for what. And then the media repositories. So like Russell said, the documents that you are now housing. We also house a YouTube channel, so if you have any videos that you want to present to the alumni, to the school, whatever it may be. And we have an image gallery that can all be plugged in. So it's pretty much like an intranet light. So obviously you wanted your members to know more about what's happening at the school. So we have the full ability for you to publish all up and coming fixtures, be they sporting or cultural. We have the team notice board, so who's playing in what teams in real time on a digital platform. And if you're late for the game or unable to make it and you've got the resources available, someone can be updating the scores in real time while they're sitting in front of the game. Advertising, so if you're looking to offset the cost of the platform, which is really low, and we can talk about that if you want to know, but basically we have an advertising engine that can be powering banner advertising and full screen ads. And we work on a traditional Google model where you take 70% of the revenue, we retain 30% of it. And in no time, literally selling about 4 slots a month, you're paying for your monthly license fee. Everything over and above that becomes an income stream. So this is pretty much the dashboard. So how this works is everything, all content is controlled by yourselves. We would provide training, we deploy to the app stores, we record those sessions, we've got training videos all over the show. You then administer the content yourselves. So you never have to rely on us to update information, you have all the tools at hand. So we have a content management system to upload, and then we have a dashboard. The dashboard is where you do all the interactions. So surveys, survey results, bookings, comments people have made on various profile modules, etc., etc. If you even use our service desk, you'll be able to see all the service requests as well. So that's my very short rendition of hopefully how you can use technology to address your problems. Thank you.